These will be the 10 best teams in the NBA next season, starting from 10 up to 1. In at number 10, I have the Memphis Grizzlies. Last season was a tough year for the Memphis Grizzlies, with Ja Morant, Marcus Smart, and Desmond Bane playing fewer than 80 games combined. But with their key players healthy, they should bounce back strong. Young players like Vince Williams Jr. and G.G. Jackson also stepped up and looked like solid role players. Youngster G.G. Jackson in particular has all-star level potential in my opinion, as in just year 1, he put up 14.6 points, 4.1 rebounds, 1.2 assists, while shooting 36% from deep on 6 attempts per game. Then when you consider the fact that Memphis will likely have him off the bench, that's going to be a very deep team. Then in the starting 5, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Marcus Smart are top defensive players in the league, while Ja Morant is a top 10 player in the game when he's healthy. Last season, Memphis went 6-3 in the games that Morant played in, and they have the defense and floor spacing to challenge any team out west. But what keeps this team lower on the list is the questions surrounding their center rotation. Yes, Zach Edey has looked very good in both the Summer League and the preseason, but will he be able to hold up for a full 82-game NBA season? If he doesn't, the Grizzlies would be looking at starting either Brandon Clark or putting Jaren Jackson Jr. back at the 5, where he didn't play as well. But on the upside, if Zach Edey can stay healthy and adapt to the NBA fast, this would not only be great for the team, but for Jaren Jackson Jr. in particular, who could go back to the 4, the position where he won the Defensive Player of the Year back in the 2023 season. Then, in at number 9 is the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cleveland Cavaliers had a solid season, making it past the first round and holding their own against the dominant Boston Celtics, even while being injured. However, while the Eastern Conference teams improved, Cleveland appeared to stay the same. They didn't prove to be much better than teams like the 76ers or Knicks last season, finishing with fewer wins than New York and only placing above Philly because of Joel Embiid's injury. What is clear though is that Donovan Mitchell is a star, and he might even be better in Cleveland than he was in Utah, putting up 24.8 points, 4.3 rebounds, and 4.6 assists, with shooting splits of 45, 36, and 84. What's also a clear positive for this Cavaliers team was the play of Evan Mobley, who improved his 3-point jumper and has looked scary good so far in the preseason. Even though the Cavs made a leap last season, it somehow still felt like a wasted year. Even though they won a playoff series and had a better record, it's still the same story in Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland can't coexist. In the games without Garland and with Mitchell, Cleveland went 14-5, with Donovan putting up 29, 5, and 7 on 48% shooting. Then with Darius Garland, the Cavs dropped to 31-26, barely being a 500 team, with Mitchell now averaging 25, 5, and 5 on only 44% shooting. It's clear that Garland and Mitchell have to get better cohesion next season, as if they do, the Cavs could be the real deal, but if it's the same clunky my turn, your turn style of play, Cleveland won't be a real threat against the Celtics in the East, and will likely fall behind the rest of the improving Eastern Conference. In at number 8 is the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and Paul George form one of the most dangerous trios in recent years. So why aren't the 76ers higher on this list? It's simple, bench depth, which is crucial in the playoffs. With Caleb Martin as their starting power forward, the roster beyond the top 3 isn't particularly strong. Keeping Kelly Oubre helps, but he's more of a solid contributor rather than a game changer. The bench is a concern, and the team will likely struggle without Embiid, though not as much as they did in the postseason. Embiid had a net rating of plus 58, meaning the team was 58 points better per 100 possessions with him on the court. And throughout the regular season, Philadelphia were the 3 seed when he got injured, and once he had to miss a massive chunk of the season due to the knee injury, Philadelphia dropped all the way down to the 7 seed and were in the play-in tournament. Paul George should help fill some of those gaps, and given how close the series was against the Knicks, they've addressed their biggest weakness from the previous season. However, the first year of any quote-unquote super team is usually a rocky one, and with Embiid still nursing his knee injury, he hasn't suited up for any preseason action and is unlikely to at all. Anytime the Sixers can have their big 3 on the floor will be huge, as the trio will need to figure out how to coexist fast and maintain health if they want to make a deep postseason run. In at number 7 is the Denver Nuggets. I'm not as high on this Denver Nuggets team as many are, and here's why. This is a very, very, very different team to the one that won won the championship back in the 2023 season. Since then, Denver have lost Bruce Brown and KCP to free agency and haven't exactly replaced them. A 36-year-old Russell Westbrook simply isn't going to fill the void of KCP, but he will help them in areas that they struggled in last season. These issues were playing fast in transition, something Westbrook made a career around, and applying rim pressure, something Russ is again very good at. However, the question will remain, what the Nuggets are getting with Westbrook, does it outweigh what they're losing with KCP, which was the three-point shooting and defense? But then looking at why this team is still in the top 10, it's because the Nuggets still have the three-time MVP Nikola Jokic leading their squad, which for me instantly puts them into contention. We have seen in the past that Jokic can make it work with basically anyone, as he fooled Orlando into thinking Gary Harris was some kind of elite two-way guard, when in reality he appeared to be so good because of Nikola Jokic's playmaking. The other reasons why the Nuggets are still in the top 10 is because of the seasons Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray just had, as they project to still remain excellent. It also helps that Michael Porter Jr. played a career-high 81 games last season while remaining a great floor spacer. But will the concerns outweigh the positives for this Nuggets team in another strong Western Conference? That remains to be seen. In at number 6 is the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks were on track to challenge the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals until the injury bug hit them in early April, which saw Giannis never suit up for a single minute in the postseason, and Damian Lillard missed time also. What followed was a rough stretch, ending in a first-round playoff exit to the Indiana Pacers. This is the third season in a row for the Bucks where a top 3 player has gone down, as it was Middleton in 2022 and Giannis in the last 2 seasons, resulting in first-round exits both times. So remaining healthy is priority number 1 for the Bucks this season. Defensively, Milwaukee had major issues to address, which they did over the offseason, acquiring Gary Trent Jr., Taurean Prince, and Delon Wright, who can all be positive defensive players. However, they're still relying on Brook Lopez to be a rim protector despite his age, as Giannis is going to have to carry a bigger load defensively than he is accustomed to. Chris Middleton, though, had a solid year and a fantastic series against Indiana, but at age 33, coming off 2 ankle surgeries, his durability is also a question mark. At their peak, Milwaukee could be the best team in the NBA, but if injuries hurt this team again, they could make it 3 first-round exits in a row. And if that happens, you know there would be massive changes over the following offseason. In at number 5, I have the New York Knicks. The Knicks were busy this offseason, trading for Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns, while securing Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby to long-term deals. Last season, they ranked 5th in net rating and improved significantly after swapping RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley for Anunoby. Losing Isaiah Hartenstein was a setback, but adding Towns should give Brunson more room to work in the paint. The addition of Mikal Bridges allows the Knicks to use 3 versatile wings with shooting abilities around their star duo. Their starting 5 of Brunson, Hart, Bridges, Anunoby, and Towns could be amongst the best starting 5s in basketball. If Mitchell Robinson returns healthy, their bench will get stronger, and they can experiment with the starting lineup, having Towns at the 4 and Robinson at the 5. Their bench depth is a question mark, but Miles McBride was great for them in the postseason and has appeared to have improved his jump shot over the offseason. Overall, the Knicks should be a well-balanced team that could present as a challenger to the Celtics in the playoffs. In at number 4, I have the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks' full season stats were impressive, ranking 14th in net rating, but they dramatically improved their roster at the deadline, which turned them into the best team in the Western Conference over the last month or so of the season. Dallas, with Jones Jr. and Gafford in the starting lineup to end the season, had a record of 15-1. This dominance to end the regular season would then see them smash right through the West playoffs, but ultimately fall short in the finals. One key focus over the offseason was boosting their three-point shooting, as their role players such as Derek Jones Jr. and PJ Washington cooled off against the stronger defense of the Boston Celtics in the finals. Adding Klay Thompson will definitely help. Though he's no longer the defensive force he was with the Warriors in his prime, he he can still flat out shoot the ball. However, they had to let go of Derrick Jones Jr. to acquire Thompson. It's too early to tell whether that was a mistake or not, but only time will tell. Luka Doncic remains as a top 3 player in the NBA, and Kyrie Irving was an outstanding co-star. Their interior play on both sides of the ball improved with Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively. While I don't see the Mavericks as the best team in the West next season, they have found a winning formula that could lead them to their first title since 2011. Their starting lineup has great chemistry, and their bench got deeper over the offseason also, adding defensive-minded guys like Quentin Grimes and Najee Marshall. Overall, the Dallas Mavericks should be one of the best teams next season, as they are primed to make yet another deep playoff push. In at number 3 is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Last season was a breakout year for the Minnesota Timberwolves, who eliminated the defending NBA champions before falling in the Western Conference Finals. They traded Karl Anthony Towns to New York and brought in Julius Randle and Donte DiVincenzo to strengthen that roster, led by star guard Anthony Edwards. Rudy Gobert is still one of the league's best defenders, and key role players like Mike Conley, Jaden McDaniels, and Naz Reid should continue to contribute effectively. Minnesota led the league in defensive rating last season, holding opponents to 108.9 points per night, which was a historically dominant defense. Donte and Julius make them a deeper team overall, and with promising young talent with Rob Dillingham, Luka Garza, and Terrence Shannon Jr., if the Wolves could find these guys more minutes, they could get even deeper. Dillingham in particular is my pick to win the Rookie of the Year, as so far in the preseason, his offensive game has been on full display, comfortably connecting on floaters and jump shots. Another leap from Anthony Edwards could be enough to see this T-Wolves team be true title contenders again, which is the most likely scenario, which is why I have them at 3. But if the whole Julius Randle thing doesn't work out, and they miss the versatility of Karl Anthony Towns, Minnesota could regress. But only time will answer these questions. In at number 2 is the OKC Thunder. If there's a clear winner for the offseason, it's hard to argue against the Oklahoma City Thunder. They traded Josh Giddey for Alex Caruso, an uneven trade that swapped a struggling player for one of the league's best defenders and a good 3-point shooter. They also signed Isaiah Hartenstein, who was arguably the Knicks' most impactful player after Jalen Brunson last season. Then with star caliber players like Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, one of the league's top shooters in Isaiah Joe, a solid defensive piece in Lou Dort, and the potential of Carson Wallace, the Thunder are loaded. And of course they have SGA, who for me has now firmly cemented himself as a top 5 player in the league. The Thunder looks as if they are the best team in the Western Conference, and their second round playoff exit might have been just the experience this young group needed to take the next step. With similarities to last year's Boston Celtics, the Thunder are perfectly built for today's NBA and are my pick to be the best team in the Western Conference this season. In at number 1, I've got the Boston Celtics. Was this even a question? The Boston Celtics not only won the NBA Finals last year, but they kept all of their top players. This team is historically dominant. Don't let anybody tell you that this team isn't that good. They're tied with the 2017 Warriors for the 3rd best net rating of all time with 11.6, which was the same Warriors squad that easily defeated a strong Cavaliers team led by LeBron James in the NBA Finals. However, some still have questions surrounding this Celtics team coming into next season. These questions are if Jason Tatum is actually the best player on the team or not, and if the Celtics title run was too easy last season. Only time will be able to answer these questions, but what we do know is that Jason Tatum is a top 10 player and has fully capitalized on playing alongside excellent teammates, winning the team's first championship since 2008. This team is dominant and nobody has closed the gap that they've established. They should be the favorites to go back-to-back this year, and unless they face some truly awful injury luck, I expect them to make it to at least the Eastern Conference Finals in the playoffs next year. But that's just my take. Does your top 10 teams look any different to mine? And if so, why? Let me know in the comments below.